Section 2. The Euthyphro Dilemma. Some acts are good and others are bad. Giving money to the needy is good, and killing babies is bad. But what makes good acts good, and what makes bad acts bad? Here is one answer. G. If an act is good, that is because God likes it. In other words, God's liking it is what causes it to be good. If an act is bad, God's disliking it is what causes it to be bad. Until God likes or dislikes an act, it remains neutral. Basically, to be good is to be liked by God, and to be bad is to be disliked by God. Of course, G assumes that God exists. For argument's sake, let's grant that assumption. Is G correct? No. What if God liked rape? Would that make it good? No. Rape would be bad even if God liked it, and God would be bad for liking it. What if God disliked acts of kindness? Would that make such acts bad? No. They would still be good, and God would be bad for disliking them. So G is false. But one might object to this argument. CG. There's no way that God would like rape, and no way he wouldn't like acts of kindness. You see, God is maximally good, and it isn't even a theoretical possibility that something maximally good should like rape or dislike acts of kindness. Your argument therefore fails, since it presupposes that God could like rape and dislike acts of kindness. CG doesn't work. Let's suppose, if only for argument's sake, that God is maximally good and therefore dislikes rape and likes acts of kindness. Why does God dislike rape? Does he just dislike it? Is his dislike of it without any foundation? No. Surely God has a good reason for disliking rape. But what could that reason be? The answer is clear. Rape is bad. Rape is wrong. So God's reason for disliking rape is that it is bad and wrong. He sees the fact that rape is wrong, and, on the basis of that knowledge, he judges that rape is wrong. Rape is wrong. God sees that, and God therefore dislikes rape. So the fact that rape is wrong is what makes God dislike it. Therefore, it isn't God's dislike of rape that makes it wrong. For exactly similar reasons, the fact that kind acts are morally right is what makes God like them. Therefore, it isn't God's approval of such acts that makes them right. Conclusion. Morality is independent of God's views. If, as many of us believe, God is morally perfect and intellectually infallible, then God will like all morally good acts and dislike all morally bad ones. But it isn't God's liking an act that makes it good or bad. That act is good or bad all by itself. Question. Could God make rape to be morally good? No. Even God cannot make rape be good. But can't God do anything? So can't he make rape morally good? No. And the reasons are similar to those that make God unable to make a square circle. We will come to an elucidation and defence of this point in Section 4. Section 2.1. Why, even if correct, the divine command theory is irrelevant to what even maximally religious people believe. Many a sociopathic ghoul has claimed that God ordered him to kill. We don't believe such people. But why not? In this context, it will be assumed for argument's sake that we believe there to be a God, and also that we believe God to be morally good. One reason is that what the ghoul in question is claiming is inconsistent with our views about morality. God would have to be evil to tell Hitler to do those things, we believe. Therefore, contrary to what Hitler claimed, God didn't tell Hitler to do those things. Of course, there are often other reasons to distrust such people. There is independent evidence of mental illness, or of political ambition, or of some other factor that would explain why, even though God did not speak to him, the evildoer in question would say otherwise. That said, if some otherwise utterly normal person were to tell you that God told him to blow up a school bus, you would, for that very reason, question the credibility of his claim. This shows that even if God speaks to certain individuals, it isn't because of what he told them that we believe that rape, theft, and so on are wrong. If I tell people that God personally told me that X is wrong, I'll be seen as a fraud or a madman by those that think that X is good, and who therefore think that God would never condemn it, and I'll have no effect on those who already think that X is wrong. If somebody claims that God said X, it is only by considering the merits of X itself that we can determine whether that claim is legitimate or not. This means that our decision to accept or reject X is not based on what God says. So even if God believes that X is good and directly tells certain people this, that isn't why we believe that X is good. Our views as to what is right and wrong don't have anything to do with what God believes. So even if it's correct, the divine command theory can do nothing in the way of legitimating existing religious practices or beliefs.